Hey everyone, welcome to Tuesday. I just wanted to hop in here. I got inspired today, so I thought, well, let me come and do a little chat with y'all about another aspect of health. Let me raise my stool. Okay, so one thing I see showing up in a lot of people in the world today is this intense desire to control outcomes. I get it. We live in a world of dramatic uncertainty, especially lately. The uncertainty is so profound that it's leaving us in a really untenable position for most people anyway, where we're kind of trying to control whatever we can control. So control is an interesting facet of life. It is, hi Al, it is part of the liver network. So in Chinese medicine, the liver is the general, and the general enacts marshals the forces and makes things happen. And the way that that system of medicine describes this is that the heart is like the emperor. And so that emperor sits high up in the mountains, kind of untainted by the craziness of life, by the intricacies of life, and therefore has this clear view, this ability to hold vision for the bigness of what's possible. And then the emperor therefore uses that placement to make decisions. And then from that place of decision, sends the general to enact certain things and kind of allows then for the plans to be put in motion. Now, if you notice, the general isn't in charge because generals have key characteristics that are absolutely needed, right? To be a general, you must be decisive, you must be willing to be strong. Usually you're probably familiar with war and being a warrior. Those are essential characteristics in a general, but not so much for a leader, because a leader has to be able to take in the nuances of all of the community. So, what's good for the land, what's good for the water, what's good for the trees, what's good for the people, what will keep us nourished, what will keep us fed, what will keep us on our path, and that path looking at like a 30-year vision. But the general doesn't do that. So this is something that I see get in the way in people's healing or potential healing, is that they go into a state of wanting to control everything. And so even in their conversations about health, they want to be right. A lot of people want what they have learned to be right, and they're not willing to surrender that maybe it's not. Maybe some of the biggest health authors out there aren't actually promoting the best advice. One of those examples is, Dr. Mercola. Mercola's been around for a long time. Some of Mercola's advice is beautiful. Some of it is quite flawed. Now, that might be said about anyone, right? I will say about Mercola, as he's geared himself towards especially extreme low carb in the last few years, I think he's really gotten caught up in that dogma. And just today I saw him do an article about the Warburg theory of cancer and cellular energy, saying that the only way therefore to stop cancer was to starve it by starving it of any potential sugar. There's a problem with that. Warburg's theory, which I won't go into, this would be a big biochemical discussion, but in short, Warburg's theory was specifically referencing that cells that are using glucose and producing lactic acid instead of producing carbon dioxide are promoting an inflammatory cycle, which also furthers the cells towards not only inflammation, but high estrogen and high cortisol states, which then also leads them to, ironically, because Mercola doesn't mention this, consume amino acids and protein and fat voraciously. And so as a result, if you take away all sources of carbohydrates, so you go ultra low carb if you have cancer, there's a good chance that you're not just you're not really actually starving the cancer cells, because you're actually initiating a different stress state, but you're also putting that stress state on the other cells as well. And we know that the primary insidious cause of all disease is stress. And so stress often comes from wanting to control outcomes. And so back to that issue of control, because Mercola is just an example, a lot of people want to cite that. Oh, well, I have to do low carb because of this. But the reality is, I've been in medicine a long time, and what I've seen come of these dogmatic approaches where it's like you cut out complete food groups, is that I don't see people thrive over the long term. I see them get temporary relief, and then they use that as the basis of every future decision, even when their daily experience flies in the face of that being true. So when people, for example, come to me and they're like, I've been doing low carb forever, and in the beginning I lost 20 pounds, yes, now I'm not sleeping. Yes, now I'm angry. Yes, now I'm yelling at my kids, but I'm certain that this is the way to go because I lost those 20 pounds in the beginning, so I'm basing that for the rest of my life. And which I return to like the principles of a healthy person. Being cranky, angry, not sleeping, those aren't principles of a healthy person. But what I watch is that the liver rears up at that point. The general takes over. So the general's like, that's it. I've made a decision. This is the path we're marching. No matter what, everybody get out of our way. I'm going to bowl over anyone who gets in my way. If the emperor was in charge, the emperor might sit in that space. So if we were in that space of compassion and clarity that comes from, like a heart-centered approach to living, we might say, gosh, I wonder if there's a different way to approach this. I wonder if I'm really meeting the needs of my body. I'm wondering if I'm really participating in the way my cells have asked me to. And then we'd be open to a discussion of potential options. But so many people, because we live in a very liver dominant world, because the liver is all about force and rapid action, we're living in this world that claims that as the hallmarks of success and of, proper action. And so we get so caught up in it that we go into that liver space and we can't see the forest for the trees. And as that happens, when the liver takes over, it injures the digestive system by damaging the spleen. In Chinese medicine, the spleen is the earth organ network. It's all about alchemy and cultivation and getting all the nourishment out of your food. And then if the spleen gets injured, it starts to injure the kidneys, which are your longevity. It's the water network. It's stillness, it's stability. And what happens is we end up in this frenetic, stress-based living. That's what the liver energy does to us. So for all of you, one, big pearl of wisdom I can give you after my 20 plus years in medicine is to ask yourself, am I trying to control the outcome? When it comes to my body, have I spent so much time on Dr. Google and so much time in various blog posts and reading everybody's book that I've decided I must be right in some way, and I'm not willing to let that go and tell the general, hey, this isn't a job for an army. This is a job for a soulful restoration, because that's really what I think most of us want. Maybe you don't, but my view on healing is that it's a soulful restoration of the totality of our body, directed by our higher intelligence, because it's tapping back into the divinity of our cells. Our cells are miraculous micro universes, the entire universe represented in a cell. And we don't make the universe better by banging harder. Not much is improved by just banging harder. And in fact, we enact a lot more destruction when we do that. So ask yourself, am I operating from a place of needing to control? The odds are that shows up a lot of places in your life. So not just, diet, or not just with health ideas or what you should take or what kind of exercise is best for you. It probably shows up in your relationships. It probably shows up in how you walk. It's exhausting to live that way. One of the best things I've found is that the willingness to surrender. This was a huge part of my Chinese medicine training, is spending time with teachers who taught us the art of surrendering. Now, I'm not like the pinnacle of expertise here, but it is a constant feature I know in my life where I remind myself, how can you surrender more here? Not surrendering as in giving up, surrender as in allowing. So when we opt to try to control the outcomes, or we want to control the information, or we want to be right, which I find all the time. I've had some of you on the calls with me or with my team, and you want to control the outcome. You want to be right. But the fact is all we want for you is healing. All we want for you is vitality and restoration. That may mean that you have to shift your perspectives a little bit. That may mean you have to adopt new information. That may mean you have to serve your body in a new way. It should be exciting. And if you need help with that, I love to help with easing that sense of control, but we all have to be willing to recognize, wow, I really am standing in my way, because you know what control will do? It'll shut you off from creativity. It will shut you off from new information. It will block the healing because the liver just takes over. The muscles get tight, the tendons get tight, thanks, Stacy. the spleen gets damaged, the kidneys get weak, the more the liver rages upwards, the lungs can't fill with air, we end up under oxygenated, the heart gets blasted by that heat, and then our spirit doesn't stay rooted inside our body. And all of a sudden, we find, my gosh, I'm fatigued, I'm exhausted, my metabolism is slow, I'm anxious, I'm not sleeping, and I don't know what to do. These are just some of the symptoms that people have. I don't want you to have to live that way. So be kind to yourself. And if you find that you are exhibiting that need to control everything, take a moment and just say to your liver, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I placed all this in your hands. You're not responsible for this. It's all of us. So that's the first thing you can do. If you don't talk to your organs, maybe it's time to start. And the second thing you can do is start to ask yourself, I wonder if I'm willing to surrender control and actually adopt practices that I don't know anything about. Because you guys, we have this assumption that somehow we're supposed to be experts in everything. And when it comes to health, because of Dr. Google, people have adopted this persona that if they can't figure it out, somehow they're missing something. I don't expect you to be able to figure this out. I don't expect most people to. It took me 6 years of med school, 2 degrees, and 20 years in practice to get all these nuances. It takes time, and it takes a lot of failure and working with really complex cases and understanding all of that. No one expects you to be able to figure it out right now. But that's why there's help. If you're ready for it, there's help. And if you're not, you can always take these little understandings, talk to your liver, talk to your spleen, get in communication with your body. That is an excellent first step. And be kind to you and be willing to surrender a little bit. If you just wake up today or tomorrow and you say, I want to allow life to happen within me, even that will do something to your cells that isn't happening already. So, just check in. Be kind to you. Allow for that sense of control to start to dissolve. Will it happen overnight? Nope. It takes a long time. Parts of it are always going to be there. But every single day you can make a true conscious decision to not have to be in charge of everything in the world. And the more you do that, the more energy you'll free up. The more energy you free up, the bigger your healing. And as that happens, you'll just grow and grow and grow, and more becomes possible. But a lot of times you're just going to have to take that leap of trusting that if you allow someone else to guide the way, you might just discover that you can let go of a whole lot more than just trying to control your health. And with it comes expansive growth and love and compassion and prosperity and all the good things that come from us expanding into our life rather than contracting in a need to hold on to everything so tight. Hey, you guys, blessings. I just wanted to give you this today, and I'm glad it helped. I see Stacy. Just be kind to yourselves, please. Our life is so beautiful and bountiful. It's time to really heal. Blessings.